Welcome to Max Effort Kitchen. My name is Chef Matt. Kitchen. Hey everyone, welcome to Max Effort Kitchen. Today we're going to make some pizza dough. A couple things you're going to need: some flour, you're going to need salt, sugar, some active dry yeast, olive oil, and warm water. Some utensils you're going to need are good old whisk, good nice sized mixing bowl. This is a big one. You could also go a little bit smaller, not a big deal. I like to wear gloves. You don't have to wear gloves, but it just makes it better for when you're trying to clean your hands. So just a thought, but again, you do not have to use it. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, where we make it by hand. You can use a stand mixer with a dough hook. You can also, use a hand mixer. But for good old-fashioned sake, we're going to do it the way that I learned how to do it. So let's try that. We're going to pour our hot water. I'm going to say it's hot, lukewarm to hot water in there. We want this water to be no hotter than 101 degrees. Most people's tap water gets up to about 110. Take your thermometer, turn on your faucet, and let the water run over it. When that thing hits about 105, put your water in there. The reason I say 105 is because by the time you take it out, put it in your bowl, it's going to cool down to 101. So we can check it here, and I'm reading just a little under 100, but that's okay. So we'll get going on this. We're going to sprinkle our yeast in there. Make sure you sprinkle it in and don't just throw it all in one clump. Okay, we're going to take our sugar to activate the yeast. Yeast is a living product, and so what it does is it gets those sugars and it starts munching and it creates these big bubbles. So all right, sugar time. Again, sprinkle it in there. Don't just throw it in so it doesn't clump up. Take your whisk, give it a spin. Make sure everything's all mixed up. Now, this part is very important. You're gonna let this sit for 15 minutes. Set your timer, 15 minutes, no less, no more. Okay, we're gonna come back. I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Check this out, guys. We're about 5 minutes in, but I wanted to show you what the yeast is doing. This is totally real time, and it's really neat to see. So check it out. See how they're moving in there? It'll bloom. See how that blooms right there? That's really cool. That's them eating that sugar up. That's just the start of it. All right, guys, the 15 minutes is up. It looks like we got some good head forming up on this yeast and this starter. So one thing I want to not forget to do at this moment, I want you to take your salt, I want you to pour it in with your flour. Give it a good mix. Just a little mix in there. The reason why we're doing that is because we do not want to put our salt directly into our yeast mixture. It doesn't kill the yeast. If you put a lot in, it's going to kill it, but what it's going to do is it's going to really slow down the process, and it's going to make your pizza dough really tough. So be very careful with that. Next step in the process, we're going to add our oil. So there's that. Got our oil. Now we're gonna add our flour. Just add that right in there. Now, this is the fun part. This part where if you got kids, get them involved because we're gonna get messy with some dough. I like to take my hands like a claw here and just kind of like, I'll show you. See how that's clumping up there? Yeah. Kind of all push it into each other. Because we're really going to get into this dough. It's very important that we work it before we let it rest. Make sure and get all that flour in there. Down. Really work that in. We're actually going to work it in the bowl until everything is incorporated into one ball. And there's no more dry flour in the bowl, and it's not sticking either. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside, get everything out of the way, move my cutting board, wipe everything down, just take a little dusting of flour. We're going to pour our dough onto the table. Now your bowl should look like that. You notice how there's no wetness on the bottom of the bowl? Yeah, that's good. If there's some dry flour up here, that's fine. Down here, that's okay. But now we got our dough. It's in a ball, and we're basically going to take the fat part of our hand and we're going to push it in. Okay? And this is called kneading. So folding it over, push it in. Fold it over, push it in. Fold it over, push it in. Fold it over. Now, if you're getting into this and you're like, oh man, this stuff seems dry, then feel free to add a little bit of water. That's okay. We're going to do this for literally 10 minutes. You're going to keep folding it onto each other until all these crumbs are gone, okay? So we see all the crumbs are gone. And if you don't feel like you're getting a forearm workout, you're not doing it right. So pushing in with the fat part of our hand, fold over, push. Fold over, push. Fold over, push. Now again, we're going to do this for 10 minutes. This is another one of those processes you cannot skimp on. Set your timer, run it for 10 minutes. Do this, switch it off with your partner, get your kids involved, but it needs to go for 10 minutes. It's very, very important that you work those glutens so they all come together. Because if you don't, again, you're going to have a very dry and hard to work with pizza dough. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this, and I will see you in 10 minutes. All right, I'm about 5 minutes in. We're seeing that this dough is starting to come together. It's still looking a little dry, but the more I work it, the better it gets. So I'm going to make sure kneading is not anything but just giving your dough some love. This is probably the only point in the pizza making process where you actually got to use muscle. I don't know about you, but I'm breaking a little bit of a sweat. But I'm also standing next to a 700-degree oven, so that could play a part. I like to mess around with the way I do it. A lot of people press in and just switch arms. And if you notice, my surface is clean. How about that? All right. Now, if you have a stand mixer, guys, you don't need to do all this. You just put it in the mixer and let it go. You know, the KitchenAid stand mixer, it comes with a dough hook. if you have any questions about that part of it, or you want to understand if there's any differences with the recipe, just get a hold of me. Put a comment below and let me know. But this part right here is very, like I said, it's very important that we make sure when we're getting that dough nice and worked, solid 10 minutes. Yep, still kneading. Still kneading. So if you just don't cut corners on this one, you will end up with a fantastic pizza dough. The beauty thing about this dough too is that it's gonna last you solid 5 days. And the longer you let it go, the more flavor you're gonna get in the dough. And it actually takes a little bit of time to get some fermentation going. But after we get done kneading here, we are going to set in the fridge for a full 24 hours. Okay, 10 minutes is up. Now, if you guys notice, this dough is much different than where you started. It feels a little bit more like, kind of like Play-Doh. It's been worked, the glutens are ready to go. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to turn this into a nice smooth ball. And I'll tell you why we're gonna do that. But first, what we wanna do is just take and fold it in like this. Fold it in like you're making a pocket. Fold it in, fold it in, fold it in. And then take it and seal it off. Spin it a little bit. I like to spin just like that. Kind of grab it and seal it. Flip it over. Make sure it's a nice little ball. So, why we do that, why we fold it in on each other is because we're letting the yeast create gas bubbles. Like I was telling you in the beginning, how they eat that sugar, they're gonna start creating these bubbles of gas, like they're burping, and it creates on the inside of this dough. And so what that's gonna do is that's gonna create a really nice pizza structure. You hear people talk about the pizza crumb. I want you to do a little bit of homework. Go look up, Google what the pizza crumb is, and you'll figure out there's a reason behind the method of our madness here. So this dough right here is ready to go. It's ready to sit for a resting period. Now, if you notice, when you press into it, it should bounce back. See how I did that? Press into it, and it bounces back pretty good. Cool. That's a good one. This is really nice. It's smooth. You shouldn't feel any stickiness to it. It should be nice and smooth. Slap it like a baby's butt. It's ready to go. The minimum amount you want to rest this is 2 hours. For the best results, you gotta let it go 24 hours in the fridge. Now, put it in a decent sized container because this is going to double in size, if not more. That's completely okay. I have had instances where I've put it in a small container and it's doubled and started pouring over the sides. But if you're gonna go in the fridge, make sure it's, if you're gonna go 24 hours, make sure it's in the fridge. If you're gonna do it for 2 hours, then what I want you to do is put it back in your bowl, cover it with a piece of plastic, and set it like on top of the stove, room temperature, and let it rise that way. All right, dough's ready to go. It's in our container. Remember to cover it. Put it either in room temperature or refrigerator, depending on the ferment that you're doing. Remember, I was talking about the gloves. The nice thing about this is you can take them off, and guess what? You have dough-free hands, but still wash them just in case. That is pretty much all I got, you guys. I'm gonna be doing a sauce and cheese demo tomorrow. It's gonna have a recipe with it, and we're gonna talk a lot about cheese and why we should grate it ourselves. That's a big thing. So, I hope you guys all have a great night. Remember, food is love. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk soon. Oh, hey guys, don't forget, the recipe for all the quantities of the dough we just made is below. So make sure you check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me.